It is Thursday, February 5th, 2026. And I want to start today by asking you to just for a moment, pause. Think about the world that we're living in right now.
It's a very busy view.
It is chaos. But if you really look at the landscape of, business, of technology over the last 10, 15 years, you see these massive, these almost tidal waves of reinvention. We have watched entire industries get dismantled and put back together in completely different
Oh,
shapes.
completely. I mean, just look at banking. You have
Yeah.
fintech, which didn't just make banking faster. It changed our fundamental relationship with money. It gamified it, for better or for worse.
Yeah, better or for worse, exactly. And transportation.
Oh.
Ride-hailing apps completely rewired the physical geometry of how we move through cities. We've seen ed tech, healthcare tech, but there's this one giant, almost ancient industry, and maybe the most critical one for the actual functioning of our society, that has been sort of
Waiting for its turn in the barrel, so to speak.
waiting for its reckoning. I mean, it's been digitized, sure. We have apps, we have websites, we have those push notifications that, wake you up at 3 in the morning. But fundamentally, has it been reinvented?
You're talking about the oldest chronicler of human civilization here.
I'm talking about the news,
Yeah.
about journalism. And today, we are doing a deep dive into what might be the most significant, maybe the most philosophical shift in that industry in a century. We are
Wow.
not talking about new media in the sense of, BuzzFeed or a new TikTok trend. We're talking about a structural change. We are talking about the rise of what is being called Newstech startups.
And we really need to be crystal clear right off the top here, because Newstech, it sounds a bit like a buzzword, doesn't it? Something a consultant made up to sell a few slide decks,
It does sound a little corporate, yeah.
but it's not. The sources we're looking at today make it very clear. This isn't just about putting a newspaper PDF on an iPad. It's not about using AI to write clickbait headlines faster. This is a total ground-up rethinking of what actually counts as news in the first place.
And to get our heads around this, we have a really fascinating and I think slightly unexpected stack of source material today. We're looking at a series of articles and some analysis from a publication called Democracy for Nepal.
Which I know might sound like a very specific, maybe even a niche lens to our listeners in, say, Chicago or Berlin or Tokyo. You might be sitting there thinking, okay, why are we looking at Nepal to understand the future of global media?
It's a valid question.
A very valid question. But as we dig into this, specifically the article is titled Reimagining News, Yanakor Reimagined, and Monetizing the Ordinary, you're going to see that this isn't just about one country. It's actually a blueprint. The analysis here argues that Yanakor, Nepal, is this unlikely launchpad for a revolution that is going to impact everyone, everywhere.
So we're going to travel metaphorically to Janakpur today. We're going to, try to smell the incense and hear the rickshaws. But before we book our tickets, we have to start with the diagnosis. Because you don't invent a cure unless you admit there's a disease. And the source material puts it pretty aggressively right out of the gate.
It pulls absolutely no punches.
It says modern media is addicted to the extraordinary.
Addicted to the extraordinary. That phrase is really the core thesis of the problem. It's the whole ballgame.
Let's just marinate on that for a second, because on the surface, that sounds, well, isn't that the job? Isn't news supposed to tell us about the extraordinary stuff? I mean, if everything was normal, we wouldn't need news, right?
That is the traditional argument, and it goes back to the absolute bedrock of journalism school. It's the first thing they teach you, usually on day one, before you even learn how to write a lead. It's the man bites dog theory.
Right, the classic definition of what makes something newsworthy.
Exactly. And the logic, it's initially quite sound.
Yeah.
If a dog bites a man, look, it's unfortunate for the man. He probably needs stitches. It's a bad day for him. But is it news? No, because dogs are animals, and animals sometimes bite. It adheres to the established pattern of nature. It's ordinary.
It's a statistic, not a story.
Precisely. It happens 1,000 times a day across the world.
Yeah.
But if a man bites a dog,
That's a break in the pattern. That's different.
it's a glitch in the matrix. It's shocking. It's bizarre. It defies every expectation. And for 100 years, the entire industry, from the New York Times to the local tabloids to the tickers on cable news, has essentially been a giant radar system scanning the globe for those man bites dog moments.
We're constantly hunting for the glitch.
We are. We're not looking for what is working. We are structurally, institutionally hunting for what is broken. We hunt for the scandal, the explosion, the gaffe, the political fight, the disaster.
Which I suppose worked fine when we read the paper once a day over coffee. You got your little dose of crazy world news, and then you went about your normal, ordinary day.
Exactly. It was a discrete packet of information. It was contained. But now,
Yeah.
that radar is strapped to our faces 24/7. We have notifications. We have feeds that scroll infinitely. And the algorithm, which is the new unelected editor-in-chief of the world, realized something very, very dangerous.
It realized we rubberneck, we look at the car crash.
It realized that human beings are evolutionarily hardwired to pay attention to danger and anomaly. It's a survival instinct. So, to keep us scrolling, to keep selling ads, the algorithm prioritized the extraordinary. It prioritized rage. It prioritized outrage. It prioritized the most extreme, the most dysfunctional version of reality it could possibly find.
And the source material argues that this addiction, this constant focus on the abnormal, has actually made the industry spiritually bankrupt.
That's a heavy phrase, spiritually bankrupt. But I want you to think about your own morning today. Just be honest. Think about the first 20 minutes after you woke up and you looked at your phone.
I mean, honestly, it's usually doom scrolling. The first question is always, what fell apart while I was sleeping?
Exactly. And how does that leave you feeling? Do you feel informed? Do you feel empowered and ready to start your day?
No, I usually just feel heavy, kind of exhausted before the day has even begun.
Exhaustion. That is the clinical diagnosis here in the source. It argues that the audience isn't apathetic. We hear pundits say that all the time. Oh, people just don't care about the truth anymore. The source says that's false. People care deeply, but they are overwhelmed.
So it's not apathy, it's burnout. There's a paradox here, too, because the source points out that despite the whole narrative of journalism is dying, people are consuming more information than ever.
More than at any point in human history. Podcasts, newsletters, social feeds, deep dive, YouTube explainers, the hunger for information is voracious.
So it's a fundamental mismatch of supply and demand.
It is a massive market failure. The supply is chaos, relentlessness, manipulation, and a constant barrage of man bites dog. But the demand, what are we as human beings actually starving for?
We want to know that the world is still spinning, that things are okay for the most part.
We want context. We want relevance. We want meaning. And most importantly, I think, we want connection. We want a reflection of reality that actually looks and feels like our lives, not just a highlight reel of the world's worst, most shocking moments.
So the core argument is that we've over-indexed on the extraordinary to the point where we've actually lost touch with reality itself. Because reality, for the most part, isn't a man biting a dog.
No. Reality is the dog sleeping in the sun. Reality is, well, the source uses the word boring.
And this is where Newstech comes in, because the source material defines Newstech in a very specific, very philosophical way. It's not just tech for news.
It is journalism powered by AI, by data analytics, by immersive video formats, all the fancy new toys. But the goal, the actual optimization target of the algorithm, is flipped on its head.
Flip how? What does that mean in practice?
Well, imagine an algorithm that isn't optimized for virality, that isn't trying to find the one post that will get 1 million angry shares. Imagine instead an algorithm that is optimized for relatability.
That is a wild concept. Usually relatable is just a marketing term that a brand uses. But you're saying the code itself, the core logic, is looking for something completely different.
The source uses this mirror metaphor. And I think this is really powerful. For a long time, journalism has been a broadcast. It's a voice from a high tower, the anchor, the editor shouting down at the masses, telling them what matters. Here is the crisis of the day. Look at it. Be afraid.
And Newstech wants to be a mirror.
It wants to reflect lived reality. And lived reality is mostly, well, boring. And I'm using boring in huge air quotes here because the source reclaims that word.
Okay, but hold on. I have to play the skeptic for a minute because boring is, well, it's boring. Who is going to pay a subscription fee to watch a live stream of traffic or someone making toast? It just feels like it goes against every commercial instinct.
That is the instinctive reaction, isn't it? We've been trained for decades to think that interesting equals loud, that news equals crisis. But the source argues that boring is actually where the intimacy lives. Boring means mornings, routines, commutes, meals, workdays. The quiet, repetitive stuff that makes up 99% of our actual existence on this planet.
So it's about validating the ordinary. It's saying that stuff matters too.
It's about widening the lens. And the expert in the source is very, very clear on this point. This does not mean we stop reporting on wars. We absolutely need investigative journalism. We need to catch the corrupt politician. We need to report on the earthquake and the hurricane. Those are the non-negotiable pillars of a functioning democracy.
But you can't build a house out of just pillars. You'd fall right through the floor.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Right now, our media landscape is just pillars. We have the pillars, but we have no walls. We have no floor. We have no context for any of it. We are staring directly at the sun of the crisis and ignoring the entire landscape around it. Newstech wants to fill in the rest of that picture.
Okay. I'm starting to get the philosophy. It's authenticity over sensationalism. It's
Yep.
connection over clicks. The philosophy is abstract. I want to see what this actually looks like in practice, because if I open an app that promises me the ordinary, what am I actually looking at on my screen?
And this is where we have to leave the abstract and go to the concrete. This is where we go to Janakpur, Nepal.
Janakpuram.
Yes, Janakpur.
Yeah.
And I really want to set the scene here because this isn't New York. It isn't London. It's not Silicon Valley.
So why Janakpur? Out of all the places in the world, why is this the laboratory for the future of news?
Janakpur is a fascinating, fascinating city. It's located in the southern plains of Nepal, right near the border with India. It's an ancient, sacred city. In Hindu mythology, it's the birthplace of the goddess Sita from the epic Ramayana. So it has this deep, mythological, spiritual weight to it.
So it's a city of pilgrims, a place with deep roots.
It is. It's a city of temple courtyards, of fragrant tea stalls, of cycle rickshaws, and dozens of sacred ponds. But it's also a rapidly modernizing city. It's growing fast, its population is booming, and the source argues that this makes it the perfect blueprint for Newstech, precisely because the most important story here isn't about what is exploding, it's about what quietly endures.
This brings us to the concept they call slow news. And I want to really take a moment and paint a picture here for you, because the source describes a hypothetical video, and it's not like any news clip I have ever seen.
Let's do it. I want you to, just for a second, close your eyes. We're going to the Janaki Mandir, the main temple.
Okay, I'm there.
It's a massive, stunning structure. It's this brilliant white building, a mix of Mughal and coral architecture. It has all these turrets, intricate arches, detailed carvings. Now, the old news way to cover this. A reporter stands up front with a microphone. It's the Viva Panchami Festival. Thousands have gathered. Cut to a loud soundbite from a priest. Cut to a wide shot of the crowd. Done in 90 seconds.
Fast cuts, high energy, you learn a fact, thousands gathered, but you don't feel a single thing.
Right. Now, here is the Newstech approach, the slow news approach. Imagine a video that is an hour long.
An hour of just the temple with no story.
An hour with no narration at all, no reporter telling you what to think or what to feel, just the camera mounted on a tripod. It's barely dawn. The sun isn't fully up yet, so the light is that deep, heavy pre-dawn blue.
The quiet time, the blue hour.
But it's not silent. It's a soundscape. You hear the low-frequency hum of a sacred city waking up. You hear the swish, swish, swish of a straw broom on the cool stone courtyard.
I can almost hear that sound. It's very specific.
And as the sun finally cracks the horizon, you see these incredible shafts of golden light cutting through those carved arches. And the camera doesn't pan or zoom around wildly. It stays still. For maybe 5 minutes, it just focuses on the dust motes dancing in that single beam of morning light.
It's focusing on the texture, not the action.
The texture is everything. The camera then maybe tilts down, and you see the calluses on the bare feet of a pilgrim who has walked for 3 days to get to this exact spot. You see the specific, unique way the smoke from the incense sticks curls around a stone pillar. You hear the chime of a single brass bell, not a generic sound effect, but the actual resonant, decaying ring of that specific bell in that specific hallway.
And you'd hear the soft chanting in the background.
The Malay chants echoing off the marble walls. The goal here isn't to inform you of a fact about the temple. The goal is to let you inhabit the temple, to give you a feeling of presence.
It's offering a sense of place. Presence.
Presence. That is the key word. In a world where we are constantly scrolling past an infinite feed of things, offering someone the ability to just be somewhere, to feel grounded in a place for an extended period of time, is a radical act. It connects you to the deep humanity of the place.
It sounds meditative. It honestly sounds like the opposite of news as we know it.
It is the opposite of breaking news. The source argues it is enduring news. It's a statement that says, this exists. This is beautiful. This routine matters.
And they don't just apply this philosophy to temples. The source talks about food as journalism. And I have to say, reading this section made me incredibly hungry.
Oh, absolutely. But again, it's not the Food Network style. It's not about a celebrity chef or a frantic competition with a ticking clock.
It's not 30-minute meals.
Definitely not. It's about the ritual, the process. The source mentions a place called Shiva Mishtan Bandar. This is a legendary, generations-old sweet shop in Janakpur. Or Mithila Thali, the restaurant started by the famous chef Santosh Shah.
And we should pause and mention Chef Santosh Shah. He's a crucial figure in this whole story.
He is. He was a finalist on MasterChef in the UK. He brought Misli cuisine, the specific food of this region, to the global stage. He proved that this local, ordinary food has global power and appeal. But the Newstech idea here isn't to interview him. It's to do a long-form feature on a simple lunch being prepared.
Describe that. What are we actually watching?
We are watching the process, slowly. We're watching golden mustard oil being poured and warming up in a massive iron pan, a kadhai. We're hearing the sound, that specific popping sound of cumin seeds as they crackle in the hot oil. We're seeing the vibrant yellow of turmeric staining the fingertips of the cook.
It's so tactile, you can almost smell the frying ghee and the spices through the screen.
But then, the camera turns away from the kitchen and focuses on the tables. And this is the journalism part. Because what do people talk about when they're sitting around eating lunch in Janakpur?
I'm going to guess they are not debating the finer points of UN Security Council resolutions.
Not usually, no.
Yeah.
They are talking about the price of onions at the market. They're talking about their daughter's upcoming wedding arrangements. They're talking about how the weather's affecting the rice harvest this year. They're talking about memory. My grandmother used to make this dish.
It feels like you're being allowed to eavesdrop on the heartbeat of a community.
It is. It's the mirror metaphor, again. If you are a local from Janakpur watching that, you see yourself. You feel seen and validated. But if you are someone from the outside, say you're listening to this in London or Los Angeles, you see the profound humanity of the place. You don't see a headline about poverty or an underdeveloped nation. You see people enjoying a meal, connecting with each other.
It humanizes the data points we're so used to seeing.
It turns the ordinary into the historical record. It says this lunch on this day mattered.
And Janakpur isn't a museum, right? It's not a city frozen in time. The source mentions that its population growth is nearly twice the national average of Nepal.
It is absolutely booming. Since Nepal went through a federal restructuring, these provincial capitals like Janakpur are exploding with growth. The city is sprawling out, new buildings are going up, it's pushing into what used to be rice paddies.
So how does Newstech cover that? Because usually coverage of urban growth is either really boring policy papers or just alarmist headlines about traffic chaos and pollution.
Right. Or it's a story about unplanned urbanization. But Newstech, according to the source, would cover it through the eyes of a rickshaw driver.
The person on the ground living it every day.
Exactly. Imagine a camera's mounted in an electric rickshaw. You just ride with the driver for 40 minutes, no cuts. You see him navigating the new traffic jams. You see the incredible mix of cows, motorbikes, new luxury SUVs, and pedestrians, all sharing the same road. You hear him talking to his passenger about how the roads have changed just in the last 5 years.
This used to be a dirt road here, now it's a 6-lane highway.
This whole area used to be a field where we played cricket, now it's a housing colony. You hear him talk about how rising electricity prices are squeezing his profit margin. You experience the growing pains of the city through his windshield. That is data. But it is emotional data.
It sticks with you in a way a line on a graph never, ever could.
That's the whole idea.
Okay, I have to stop you there, because I am listening to all of this, and I'm swept up in the romance of it. I absolutely love the idea of the slow temple video. I love the rickshaw ride. But the skeptic in me, the business part of my brain, is screaming at me.
And what is it saying?
It's saying, this is beautiful art, but how on earth does it pay the bills? Because beautiful, thoughtful things often go broke. And the news industry is famous for going broke even when it tries to be ruthlessly commercial. How do you possibly monetize a silent hour-long video of a temple or a guy frying onions?
That is the billion-dollar question. And if you can't answer it, none of this matters. It's just a nice idea.
Because if the answer is we'll put ads on it, I just don't buy it. You're not going to get 1 million clicks on the silent temple video to support a banner ad for car insurance. It doesn't work.
You are absolutely right. The ad model is dead on arrival for this kind of content. And the source material knows this. It completely rejects the traditional ads versus subscriptions binary.
So what's the alternative? Where does the money come from?
The source argues that we have to stop looking at Western media models, the New York Times, the Guardian, and instead look at the unique economic reality of the place we are operating in. And in Nepal, That reality is the diaspora economy.
Okay, let's get into the numbers here because they are staggering. I had to read them twice.
They are massive, and I really want to make sure everyone listening grasps the sheer scale of this. In the fiscal year 2024 to 2025, remittance inflows to Nepal, that's money sent home from abroad, reached Rs 1.723 trillion.
Trillion with a T.
That is nearly 29% of the country's entire gross domestic product.
Wait, just pause on that for a second. 29%. That means that almost 1/3 of the entire national economy is just money being sent home by Nepalese working in other countries.
Yes, that flow of money is larger than all foreign direct investment and all international development assistance combined. It is the absolute lifeblood of the nation. We are talking about 2.1 million Nepalese officially working abroad. They're in the Gulf states, Qatar, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. They're in Malaysia. They're in the US, the UK, Australia, all over the world.
So this is the real economic engine. But usually, media companies just ignore this group, or they just see them as a demographic to target with ads for money transfer services.
Right. The only conversation is send money home faster and cheaper. That's it. But the expert in the source material makes a profound psychological point here. Remittances are not just financial transactions. They are, at their core, emotional transactions.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. Why are you sending that money? You are a construction worker in Doha. You're working 12-hour days in 45-degree heat. You are living in a shared dorm. Why do you send 70% of your paycheck home every month?
Duty, I suppose. Responsibility to your family.
Duty, yes, but also love, also guilt for being away, also a deep, profound longing. You are sending it because you aren't there. You're sending it because you are missing your daughter's first day of school. You are missing the Dashain festival. You are missing your parents getting older.
Behind every single wire transfer, there is separation and distance.
Exactly. The diaspora sends money, but what they crave, what they are truly starving for, is presence. They want to feel like they are home, but they physically can't be.
So the business model isn't selling news, it's selling connection, it's selling presence.
It moves from selling information to monetizing connection. And this brings us to what I think is the most radical part of the source material, monetizing the ordinary. And there's this core concept they call bespoke memory.
This is the part of the reading that really stopped me in my tracks. It felt completely new.
It is radical. It's the idea of commissioned content.
Okay, walk us through a scenario. How does this actually work for a user?
Okay, imagine you are that Nepali worker living in Doha. Or maybe you're a Nepali student studying in Dallas. You've been away from home for 5 years, you miss it terribly. But you don't just miss Nepal in the abstract map sense. You miss your street.
You miss the specific tea shop on the corner where you used to hang out with your friends after school?
You miss the specific banyan tree in front of your old school. So you go onto this Newstech app, and you don't just scroll through a feed. You engage a service. You pay a fee, a premium fee, say $20 or $30, to commission a personalized video.
So I'm effectively hiring a local journalist or a creator for a specific task.
You're hiring a local creator. You type in a request. Go to Ramananda Chowk. Go to this specific street corner. And just film it for me for 10 minutes. Walk down the street I used to walk down to get to the market.
So it's like personalized documentary filmmaking or
Right.
being a proxy for someone.
It's being a proxy witness. The creator gets the request, goes to that exact spot. They film a high-quality slow-motion walk. Maybe they even talk to the old shopkeeper you mentioned. Maybe they find your old neighbor and say, hey, Raman Dallas sends his love, and they film the reaction.
That is, wow, that is incredibly powerful on an emotional level.
It's bespoke memory. It's memory made to order.
But I have to ask the hard question. Isn't that just Uber for nostalgia? Is that really journalism? If I pay someone to film my old street, sure, it makes me feel connected, it might make me cry, but is it news?
That is the billion-dollar philosophical question.
Yeah.
And to answer it, you have to redefine what the function of news actually is. Is the function of news just to transfer abstract facts? Or is its highest calling to witness and record reality?
I suppose witnessing is the higher calling, yeah.
Right. And right now, the only things we witness as a society are car crashes and press conferences. What this model argues is that the act of witnessing a street corner at a specific moment in time, or a shop opening for the day, or a grandmother cooking a family recipe, documenting that reality faithfully, is a journalistic act. It just happens to be a private one initially. But here's the kicker. That video, with the user's permission, can then enter the public archive.
So my private commission becomes part of the city's collective memory, a historical record.
Exactly. And unlike a cameo video, which is just a celebrity saying hi for cash. This is a verified, geolocated record of a place and time. This model doesn't compete on virality. It competes on meaning. And in a world that's about to be flooded with AI-generated noise and deepfakes, authentic meaning is the only thing that will command a premium price.
It's scarcity. Authentic human connection is the scarce resource.
It's the ultimate scarce resource.
The source also talks about something called diaspora commerce, which sounds like blending fintech with culture.
Yes. So let's build on the previous scenario. Imagine you're using this news app. You're not commissioning a video today. You're just watching a beautiful, slow news story about the sweets being made at Shiva Mishram Bhandar in Janakpur. You get nostalgic. Your mom loves those sweets. The app allows you right there in the article to order a box of those exact sweets for your family back home.
Okay, that sounds like standard e-commerce. I can order things on Amazon. What's the twist?
But here's the Newstech twist. You don't just get an email with a receipt number. A day later, you get a short video sent to your phone.
A video? Of what?
You get a video of the shopkeeper in Janakpur packing your specific box of sweets. You get a video of the local delivery person handing it to your mom at her front door. You see her actual smile. You see her opening it and trying one.
Wow. So it wraps the financial transaction inside a human narrative.
It closes the emotional loop. It makes the transaction feel like a genuine act of care, not just a cold bank transfer. It validates the emotion that drove you to send the gift in the first place.
It turns the news platform into a high-touch gifting interface. And during festivals like Dashain or Tihar, I can see this being huge.
Imagine sending sponsored video greetings or handcrafted items from local artisans, and you get to see the whole journey. It taps into that massive river of money that are as 1.723 trillion in a way that's emotionally resonant. It doesn't need to chase clicks for penny ads.
It's brilliant because it completely solves the willingness to pay problem. People hate paying for news, but they will happily pay for things that create a real, tangible connection to their family.
Exactly. You might not pay $5 for a newspaper subscription, but you will absolutely pay $50 to see your mom smile and eat her favorite sweet that you sent her from halfway around the world.
The source also touches on blockchain and patronage, which, I have to be honest, usually makes me roll my eyes. The phrase tokenized engagement sounds a bit tech bro for me.
I know. Blockchain has become a trigger word for a lot of people, but hear me out, because in this very specific context, it feels different. It's not about speculating on crypto coins.
So we aren't buying Janik per coins or anything like that?
Laughs, no. Please, put the crypto wallet away. Think of it more like a digital version of a plaque on a park bench.
Okay, I like park benches. Explain.
In the physical world, if you're a successful person from a small town and you donate money to fix up the local park, they put your name on a bench, donated by.
Yeah.
Everyone who sits there knows you helped make it happen. You feel a sense of ownership and pride.
Right, it's public acknowledgement.
In this app, imagine you are a successful Nepali doctor living in London. You want to give back to your home village. Instead of sending money into a bureaucratic black hole, you could sponsor a story. You could fund a deep dive documentary about a local teacher in your village who is doing incredible work but has no resources.
So I'm essentially acting as the executive producer for a piece of local journalism.
You are the patron. You fund the story. And the blockchain just acts as that immutable brass plaque. It's a permanent, unhackable, transparent record that says, this story exists because listener name made it happen. It ensures transparency. You can see exactly where your money went. It bypasses all the layers of bureaucracy of traditional charity.
It democratizes the funding of journalism. You don't need a massive grant from a big foundation. You just need a community of people who care enough to fund the stories that matter to them.
And that is why this model is so resilient. It is built on deep community trust and direct patronage, not on gaming an algorithm owned by a giant faceless tech company in California.
Now, none of this works if it doesn't scale. We can't just have one guy with a camera running around Janakpur taking commissions. Section 6 in the source material talks about technology and scaling.
Right. Because to have real impact, you can't just be an artisan shop. You need scale. And the source mentions AI as the invisible editor.
I like that term. Usually we hear about AI as the creator, generating fake news or hallucinating articles that aren't true.
Here, the AI isn't writing the story. The AI is the curator and the translator. Think about the language barrier for a moment. In Janakpur, the local language is Maithili. It's a rich, beautiful, poetic language. It has its own nuance, its own soul.
But the diaspora is global and speaks dozens of languages.
Right. The second-generation kid growing up in New York might speak only English. The construction worker in Qatar might communicate in Hindi or Arabic. The nurse in London speaks English.
So the AI is doing real-time translation of the video content.
Real-time, high-quality translation and dubbing of the original Mathili into multiple global languages. This unlocks the content for everyone. Suddenly, a story about a rickshaw driver in Janakpur, told in his own words, in his own language, is instantly accessible and understandable to the entire global diaspora.
That is huge. It preserves the authenticity of the local language while reaching a global audience. Usually, globalization crushes local languages. This uses technology to amplify them.
Exactly. And it also allows for hyper-personalization. The invisible editor can look at a user's profile and say, okay, this person's family is from this specific district, this specific village. Let's make sure they see the stories from that area first. It creates a feed that feels like a personal letter from home.
And the source uses this phrase, flood the zone. Now, usually when we hear flood the zone in media studies, it's a very bad thing. It's what strategists like Steve Bannon talked about, flooding the zone with nonsense to confuse people and erode truth.
Right, flooding the zone with noise and misinformation. But Newstech flips that entire strategy on its head. It says, flood the zone with the ordinary.
Flood it with reality.
Flood it with markets. Flood it with silent temple mornings. Flood it with routine. Flood it with small acts of kindness.
It's a really interesting theory. If you produce enough high-quality, authentic, and verifiable content about everyday life, you effectively crowd out the sensationalism and the disinformation.
You create a buffer of normalcy, you build up an immune system against the noise, and because production costs are near zero, everyone has a high-quality camera in their pocket, editing tools are free, you can actually achieve this volume. You can have an army of trained citizen journalists, but all of them operating under this slow news philosophy.
And this brings up the bigger question of scaling. Why start in Nepal? Why Janakpur? Why not try this in, say, rural Ohio?
The source argues that the Global South is actually the perfect launchpad for this revolution.
Why? Usually tech starts in Silicon Valley and then trickles down to the rest of the world.
Because the need is greater here. And the core asset is unique. Places like Nepal, the Philippines, Nigeria, they are incredibly rich in linguistic diversity. They are rich in these untold everyday stories, but they're almost completely invisible in the global media landscape.
If you are in New York or London, you are covered by 1,000 cameras already.
Exactly. If a water pipe bursts in Manhattan, it's trending on Twitter in 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If a new community library opens in Janakpur, nobody outside the city knows. So the marginal value of telling a story there is infinitely higher.
And the business model itself is portable.
Completely. If this model works in Janakpur, connecting a local population with a wealthy, emotionally invested diaspora, it works in the Philippines.
Yeah.
It works in Mexico. It works in Ghana. It works in Vietnam.
Any region that has a high rate of migration and strong remittance flows?
Precisely. It is a model designed for the reality of the Global South. Local stories plus diaspora monetization equals a sustainable, independent media ecosystem. It completely shifts the power dynamic away from Western media conglomerates.
This leads us to the bigger picture. We've talked about the tech, the business model, the food. But Section 7 in the source material discusses the societal impact. Because if this actually works, if Newstech startups actually take off, it changes a lot more than just the media industry. It could change how we see democracy itself.
It really does. The source makes this beautiful point. It says that democracy isn't just about rallies and protests. It is just what happens at the Parliament building in the capital city.
It's the ground game. It's what happens in people's lives.
It is the farmer in the field weighing a new government policy against the timing of the monsoon rain. It is the local midwife whose work saves lives every day but never ever makes a headline. When you elevate those stories, when you treat their daily struggles and triumphs as news, you validate their existence.
You are sending a powerful message. You matter.
You are saying, your life, your work, your reality is a crucial part of the story of this nation. That is incredibly empowering. It moves democracy from being a spectator sport, where you just watch politicians fight on TV, to a participatory experience where your life is reflected in the national conversation.
And there is a pretty significant mental health aspect to this as well. We touched on this at the very beginning, the exhaustion, the burnout. The source calls this fundamental shift moving from information to intimacy.
That is the core shift. Just think about the psychological impact on a daily basis. Today, you open a news app, and it effectively screams at you, war, Economic collapse, political scandal, your cortisol spikes. You feel anxious. You feel helpless.
You feel small and insignificant in the face of these giant, chaotic forces.
Now, imagine you open the Newstech app instead.
Yeah.
You see a slow, beautiful pan of a misty morning in your ancestral village. You see a shopkeeper laughing with a customer. You see a familiar religious ritual being performed. You see the video of the sweets being packed for your mother.
You feel grounded. You feel calm.
You feel connected. You are gently reminded that the world is mostly functional, that people are mostly good, that society, for the most part, is holding together. It rebuilds trust, one small, ordinary story at a time.
And trust is the one currency that we have almost completely lost.
And you can't rebuild trust by yelling louder or by publishing more aggressive fact checks. The source argues you rebuild trust by being quiet, by being consistent, and by showing people a version of reality that they actually recognize from their own lives.
News that feels like life, not like a constant alarm.
That is the ultimate goal.
So let's try to recap this entire journey, because we have covered a massive amount of ground here. We started with the date 2026 and this idea that the news industry is finally, after all these years, facing its true tech-driven reckoning.
We looked at the core problem, the man-bites-dog addiction that has led to a media landscape that has left us exhausted and, as the source says, spiritually bankrupt.
We introduced the potential solution, Newstech, a philosophy built on relatability over rage. The idea of being a mirror for society, not just a broadcast tower.
We then traveled to Janakpur, Nepal. We visualized the slow news of the Janaki Mandir. We tried to smell the food at Shiva Meshtan Bandar. We took a ride in that electric rickshaw.
And then we broke down the absolutely critical business model, that massive Rs 1.723 trillion diaspora economy. The insight that remittances are fundamentally emotional transactions, not just financial ones.
We look at the specific innovations, bespoke memory, this idea of commissioned personal content, diaspora commerce, wrapping transactions in narrative, and the technology, the AI invisible editor and blockchain patronage, that could make it all scalable and trustworthy.
And finally, we touched on the profound potential impact on how we view democracy and on our collective mental health.
It's a complete end-to-end ecosystem, and it's a remarkably hopeful vision for the future.
It really is. And the source material ends with this one provocative thought that I want to leave our listener with. It suggests that in an age of total abundance where we have infinite information, infinite entertainment, infinite noise, the rarest, most valuable currency is connection.
It's the one thing we can't automate or fake, at least not yet.
So here is the question for you listening to this right now. It doesn't matter if you're from Nepal or Nebraska or Nairobi. If you could commission one of these bespoke memory videos, if you could pay a small fee to have someone go to one ordinary place from your past, a street corner, a specific shop, a park bench from your childhood, and just film it quietly for an hour, no narration, just the sights and sounds of that place as it exists today, what place would you choose?
I know exactly which street corner I would choose, instantly.
And here's the follow-up question. Would you pay more for that single personal video, for that piece of bespoke memory, than you would for a 1-month subscription to a major national newspaper?
I think for a lot of people, especially those living far from where they grew up, the answer is an immediate and obvious yes.
I think so too. And that right there is why Newstech might just be the quiet revolution we have all been waiting for.